Hey everyone, and welcome to the Balanced Bodies Blueprint. I am your host, Vinny Russo.
And I am your co-host, Dr. Eryn Stansfield.
And we're shifting gears from all the conventional fitness narrative you hear on most fitness podcasts, as our main emphasis lies in preventative healthcare, adopting a holistic approach to nutrition, and challenging the traditional views on various fitness topics.
Our mission with this podcast is to provide you with the information you need to achieve optimal health.
And on today's podcast, I will be doing a solo episode. We are traveling this week. This is going to be a quick, fast episode. It's really just to give you guys an insight on what to do during something that I feel happens to everybody. So I want to give you some insight on how to get back on track after you fall off or screw up or mess up, however you want to label it, on your diet plan. But before I dive into that topic, if you haven't done so already, just hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode of our podcast. We try to put out valuable content on a weekly basis, and we want to make sure that we get the knowledge and the information that we want to pass along out there to try to help as many people as possible. But today, what I want to do is I really want to teach you about what to do when you mess up on your diet, because we all have those moments. We all have those moments where we're going to fall off our meal plan, or we indulge just a little bit too much. And then we all know that feeling the next day where there's a sense of guilt and you feel like you have to punish yourself with like excessive cardio, or like you got to go do, leg day for like the second or third time that week just to try to make up for the overindulgence in calories. But just because you have one bad meal or one off day doesn't mean that you have to abandon your entire diet. And that's usually what happens. It's like it's an all or nothing mentality. And if you start the day off with a shitty meal, or you just happen to fall off the plan, you could get right back on track. You don't have to wait till Monday. You don't have to wait till the start of a new month. You don't have to wait until after your vacation. It's you get back on track now. Like there's no procrastination needed. So what I want to do is I want to get into just a quick example of what happened to me. So then I could tell you what I did to get back on track. And right now I'm in prep for a photo shoot and for possibly a competition in mid-September. And I fell a little off plan. It happens. I'm traveling, and this is what happens. You got to try to navigate those situations and learn from your experiences. So yesterday, I planned, to eat what was on my diet plan. I didn't really have the food in my environment to do so. And life had other plans for me, right? So my morning was pretty busy. I had a plan, a talk that I was giving that day. And what happened is I basically missed my planned breakfast. And then by the time lunchtime came around, I was really hungry. And I still didn't cook my chicken that was in the fridge that needed to be cooked. And I didn't want to wait. So I just, decided to go grab some food. And it wasn't that it was a mindless decision. It was very mindful, but it was being off from your plan of being in prep. And if you are in prep, there are extremes that you have to go to. And one of those extremes is being extremely consistent on your diet. So basically, yeah, I mean, I went and, I had a steak salad, but then I also, ordered some hummus, which came with some pita chips and some vegetables. It's all mindful decisions, but it's not what I accounted for, and it wasn't part of my plan. So I felt guilty. I felt a little disappointed, like I should have planned better. And I usually tell my clients, like, hey, like if you have this type of situation come up, just look back, reflect, and know what you could have done better. But I already knew what I could have done better. I should have just planned and should have cooked that chicken when I got in the other night. So I know from that point on, I had to turn things around. So I'm not going to let this turn into an all-day event. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm not going to play the victim. So how did I get back on track? Because that's exactly what I did. I did go home and cook the chicken, and I had all my meats prepared. So we're all good to go now. But what did I do to allow myself to get there? The first thing I did, and the first thing you need to do, is acknowledge it and accept it, right? You have to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, you slipped up, and it's okay. You're human, and humans make errors, and it's all right. And it's never about perfection. It's about overall consistency. So when you see that one meal and you're just like, man, that was only one meal. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's really not. It's a big deal when that one meal turns into a full day, which then turns into a full weekend, which then will set you back. It really will. But everyone, no matter who you are, you will have a moment of weakness. Some people try to starve off that weakness as much as possible, but it's going to happen here and there. And the best thing you can do is acknowledge it and accept it. Accept that you had an off meal. And when you do that, it actually allows you to say, I can move forward. I don't have to feel guilty about this. I don't need to wake up in the morning the next day and try to do, 40 minutes of fasted cardio. I don't need to do that. Like I messed up on one meal and got right back on track. Right. And that leads to step two. It's resetting your mindset. So once you acknowledge it and then you accept it, now you have to reset your mindset. A bad meal, like I said, doesn't need to lead to a bad day. So after you acknowledge and accept, now it's time for the reset. You need to remind yourself of your goals and why they're important to you. Like, why are you doing this? Right. And that reason alone should help you refocus and recommit to the plan that you have in place. All right. So we acknowledge, we accept, we go through the process of really understanding our why to help reset our mindset and get us kickstarted again. And then the next thing that you want to do is you want to plan your next move, right? So for me, when I just gave you that example, my first meal was off. My next meal needed to be on point. That was my next move. So I had to go make sure I was able to prepare what I needed to and have that next meal. I needed that next meal to be on plan. And that's the same thing with you guys. Like you slip up, plan your next move. Well, what is it? Are you going to sit there and sulk? Are you going to just go all out and just say, hey, you know what? Fuck it. I messed up. I might as well ruin the whole day. Right. It's like that analogy. If you pop one tire on your car, does that mean you grab a knife and go pop all the other tires? No, you're not going to do that. What you're going to do is you are going to fix that tire and get back on track. And that's exactly what you need to do here. You need to plan that next move. And even if you don't have, your prepped foods, you're going to make a mindful decision. Focus on those whole foods, get those lean proteins, get those, load up on those vegetables. You know, you could still make really good decisions as being your next move, even if it's not perfect. Is it better? What's the best decision you can make with what you have available to you? And planning this next move, or for me, it was planning my next meal, it helped me and it will help you get back on track and reinforces your commitment to your nutrition goals. And this leads to step number 4, which is you need to reflect and learn. So this is extremely important. This is what I tell all my clients to do, especially if they go on vacation. I tell them, hey, you don't have to follow the plan to a T. Obviously, I want you to enjoy your vacation, but gamify it. Use this as practice. What do you need to do to mitigate as much damage as possible? How good can you do? Right. And it's a great experience because after that, there's a reflection there. It's like, well, what did I do great? Because that's what you're going to continue to do the next time you have that experience. But what can I do better? Because that's the things that you're going to change for your next experience to really hone in a strategy that works very well for you for things like life events, birthdays, weddings, going on vacation. If you have work events, whatever it is, you'll be able to develop your own strategy by reflecting and learning from what you did great and what you could do better. Because when you start to understand the reasons for why you may have fell off or for the reasons why you chose to not follow the plan, this will help you in the future not only be able to prevent something like that from happening again, but help you navigate the situation to where you feel like you don't compromise your quality of life, but you also keep your goals in mind. And that's the key, right? The key with this whole dieting thing is obviously sustainability. If you're not enjoying it and it doesn't support your quality of life, it's not sustainable. So we have to find ways which is going to make it sustainable for you. And that's going to be different for every individual. Whatever works for me is not going to work for Joe. Whatever works for Joe is not going to work for Sally. Whatever works for Sally is not going to work for me. We have to find our own strategies, our own hacks and tips and tricks that work for us. And the best way to figure that out is by what I like to say to my clients is practice. Practice those events and refine your craft. And then the last step is to always, always, always make sure that you are checking in with your coach if you have a coach, or check in with yourself. Obviously, the check-ins with the coach, like just because you messed up and you had a shitty week, doesn't mean you just skip that data like it didn't exist. We need that data. I need you to tell me what went on, why it went on, what happened, where was your mind when this stuff happened, so then I can help you navigate that situation or come up with ideas to help you navigate the situation in the future. If you don't have a coach and you're trying to do this by yourself, always checking in with yourself. Give yourself a day where you set away some time and you go over the week and you check in with yourself and you reflect on what's working and what's not working. You could ask yourself, like, hey, what do I need to stop? What do I need to start? And what do I need to continue to do to maintain, my progress through this journey? And you could literally make small adjustments, which will lead to significant improvements over time. I mean, that's what we do as coaches. We manipulate and we figure out, based off of data, how your body responds. And our manipulations will be tailored towards what's going to be best for you in terms of efficiency over time. So just to run through those 5 steps of what happens when you fall off, you need to acknowledge and accept the fact that you fell off. You need to then reset your mindset to make sure that you are refocused and recommitted to your plan. You have to plan. Number 3 is you have to plan your next move, right? Make sure you plan that next move so this doesn't turn into one slip up after another, which turns into one slip up to a day of slipping up to a weekend of slipping up. Then probably the most important step 4, is reflecting and learning. So always make sure you reflect on what happened. You learn from that so then you can create the best strategy for you to help navigate through certain situations and certain life events. And by life event, I don't just mean like vacations and stuff. I mean like slipping up. That is a life event because it's going to happen to everybody. And then the last step 5, is making sure you are checking in weekly with yourself, going over everything, or at least with a coach who can go over the data with you. So by implementing, those 5 steps, you can really handle the dietary setbacks. And you actually ensure that you don't derail your progress over time because you get better and better and better at when those situations arise, because they will arise. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's learning how to recover quickly from a fall off and then staying committed to your goals over time.
So on behalf of Balanced Bodies, we just want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Balanced Bodies Blueprint.
We are committed to bringing valuable content. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd greatly appreciate it if you can take a moment and like it and leave a 5-star review.
On Apple, just go to the show, scroll down to the bottom and rate it there. If you're on Spotify, go to the show's page, click the 3 dots, and you can rate it there as well.
And if you believe in the power of knowledge, share this episode on your social media to try and get the information out there to as many people as possible.
And as you navigate your own path towards better health, remember that Balanced Bodies is forever in your corner. See you all next week.
The podcast content may include discussions of medical topics and health-related information. However, the information provided should not be considered exhaustive or complete, and it should not be relied upon as a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare providers with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment.